Alrighty guys, what's going on guys? Pegasus and the Wise guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we have just concluded Nats. We're basically walking into a new format where Splight and Terralements are going to be really insane. Obviously, you guys already know that Exo Sister will be the third deck of the triangle. There's going to be a lot more decks that are going to be pretty good as well. And in some of the coming videos, we'll obviously have a top 5 decks of the next meta because I feel like that's absolutely necessary. Now, the reason why I'm showing some of these deck lists is just to show that some of the texts that I'm about to talk about are obviously popping up in the OCG as well, and it's been popping up in a lot of circles in the TCG because, well, hell, let's face it, it's a whole hell of a lot of people preparing for these decks and knowing that these decks are basically going to carry us through to the end of the year as the preeminent decks going forwards. But as far as that's concerned, guys, let's just jump straight into the cards I wanted to talk about. As you can see from one of the lists, you saw Pankratops. In another list, you saw Alpha, the Master of Beasts. Very powerful go second cards. Not quite as good as a card like Mystic Mind because, you know, we all saw what it did at Nationals in the last couple of large events. But in this case, these two cards in the OCG are actually going up against cards like Winda, as well as a card like Lava Golem to add in addition to someone's inboard having a Winda and possibly another card. Is just very powerful. Obviously, with Terralements being able to have a turn 0 Winda, trust me, go watch some of these videos that I've done on Terralements if you don't understand what the hell I'm talking about. It's a beautiful breakdown. It's a beautiful deck, by the way. Make sure you pick it up. It's going to be really expensive, though, in my opinion, as you can see in our community page. But some of the other cards I want to talk about, Onibaru Soul Sweeper is a rank 2 that I've seen. It came out in BACH. That's Battles of Chaos, in case you forgot. This card is extremely powerful, and let's talk about it. It says you can target a card or your opponent controls and banish it until your opponent's in phase. If this card is in its owner's control, is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target banished monsters up to the number of materials this card had and shuffle them into the deck. So a card like Dupe Frog and Ronin Tonin, although I feel like that engine isn't quite what we think it is. I don't think Dupe Frog's all that great, but as far as interacting with that engine, potentially, obviously people are messing around with the Evil Twin stuff and they're messing around with some other stuff like Dark Beckoning Beast, but specifically Ronin Tone is the first thing that popped in my mind. But obviously, guys, a card like that is very insane. It can obviously help loop banished cards back into the grave. Old Entity Cathuga is a new card that I've seen also popping up in testing circles. And this card is extremely powerful. Now it's like, what the hell? How can you play this? Inside of a deck like Splight, yes, you can play a Synchro 4. Because of a card like Christian Halka Fibrax, being able to leap a card like Formula Synchron out onto the field, obviously is treated as a Synchro summon, and then being able to Synchro a 2 and another 2 to be able to interact with this. And it says if this card is Synchro summon, you can return all rank 4 XYZ monsters on the field to the extra deck. It's almost like there's a deck that's going to be in that triangle, rank 4. I wonder what deck that is. Oh, that's right, it's Exo Sister, a very powerful counter tech card that you may want to take consideration of. I don't mind sharing it because who really gives a shit, man? We all trying to help each other get better. We're all a community. Make sure you test this card out. This card is very powerful. And if you're struggling in a matchup, you may want to try this card out versus the Exo Sister matchup because Exo Sister, whether you're planning on playing Terralements or Splight, is going to be a pain in your ass. It has another effect that obviously interacts with fusion summoning, but you don't need to worry about that. Just worry about the additional effect. There's also cards like XYZ Universe, but blah blah. I can talk about that stuff all day. Another really powerful card, 2 powerful cards that are very similar. Earth Shattering Event, very powerful card that says if a card or cards is sent from the deck to the grave, target one card in either player's graveyard and shuffle it into the deck, and then neither player can send cards from the deck to the grave for the rest of the turn. That is extremely powerful against a deck like Terralements because if you can basically interrupt the fusion summon, which is their type effects, how they kick off their effects, and then also make it where they can't do something for the rest of the turn that they're very good at doing, this is a card you may want to consider. Make sure you pick them up. Clearly, guys, continuous spells aren't searchable. Neither are quick plays, really. I mean, you do have quick booster and cards like that. But Silent Graveyard is a very interesting card because I've seen it pop up in the past. It's a little bit dwellerish. And in a deck like Sky Striker where your card advantage can get silly, MARINCESS would be another good example of a current deck that's also doing really, really well, although Sky Striker just topped the YCS. I definitely feel like these are cards that you have to consider. The last card I wanted to mention is Ghost Reaper, which you see down here in this side deck portion. But it's for the specific text in Splight Elf and how powerful it can be against a card like Splight Elf, because devastating your opponent, taking this out of their repertoire could be extremely powerful. Reaper is always a -1. I think we all understand that. But in other decks like Tearalaments, where we're all going to be playing the same extra deck cards, Splight, where we're all going to be playing the same extra deck cards, and a card like Splight Elf that's going to be in a lot of different decks, it's something you have to consider, guys, because Ghost Reaper, being able to completely remove your opponent's potential, I'm not going to say win condition, but Splight Elf is really, really, really important. I'd probably think it is the win condition. That just remains to be seen. There's other decks I could mention. Obviously, with Ibli, if Sword Soul is still one of the best decks, Ibli is going to absolutely wipe that out. Make sure you're aware of that. Cyberstein being a special summon into a zone that the Splight Elf is pointing to. Being unable to be targeted basically means it can't be impermed, it can't be veilered, it can't be stopped. Unless they're hitting you with like a Gamma or something like that. These are cards that you just consider, guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you look out for these texts and be ready. I'm out. Arrivederci. Pegasus out.